most of the league members are so excited to have you pick their brain and share their experience and their what obstacles they had, what things worked well, and grants and grant ideas if that's necessary and that sort of thing. So it could be a very good resource.
So I'll share a story that was, if Crystal was here, she would share. She was on project development last year. She worked very closely with the Girl Scouts of America, and I had also had conversations with them, and they're very, very passionate. They were doubling the size of their program and needed people, really, really needed people to help, and were essentially willing to do a lot of different things to get the Junior League involved. For multiple different reasons, we ended up not pursuing that particular project or that partnership. And Crystal had to, after 2 or 3 conversations with this woman, had to call her and explain that. And so I went to lunch with her, and she said, how do I do this? I don't want them to be, feel like we're just turning our back on them. But it's kind of a breakup conversation, right? I'm assuming probably everybody has experienced that either on one end or the other in this room. And it's difficult and it's hard, and that is kind of what it can feel like sometimes, because you are building a relationship with people as you call them, whether it's a 10-minute conversation and at the end you have to say, thanks so much for sharing this. I'm going to bring it back to my group and I'll let you know if there's going to be a good fit. So though as you go down that path, I will also say I'm a former recruiter, so I've had the breakup conversation with many, many people, or the turn down conversation. Bring those types of questions to this group. This is a support. We are a training, learning organization, so you may have never done that before. Please bring them to this space and we can brainstorm how is the best way to handle that partnership. But it's a great opportunity to learn how to maneuver through some of those tough situations, because if you haven't had to have that yet in your professional or personal life, you will at some point in time. So what better place to learn it than in the league? So, okay. Hopefully you don't have to have many of those tougher conversations, but they do exist. So we'll move on to secondary. And I will actually, it looked really ugly as I started to put the hyperlinks in here, but when I send out the deck, I'll put the hyperlinks to these sites. But this is a brain dump of where to start. So you'll see at the very top of the list, we put the AGLI website. And there's a couple of people who have used this very intensely and can help guide if anybody does start using the website and has questions about functionality. So newspapers and journals are obviously a really good place to start. Published studies. The Wilder Research Foundation is phenomenal. This is all of the type of research that they do is really about public policy and issues concerning the public, whether it's poverty, homelessness, food insecurity, education, all of the things that quite frankly the Junior League touches. They spend a long time doing studies on, and they'll do them over long periods of time. They'll do shorter studies and are updating their research on a very frequent basis and are a very reputable source of information. The Children's Defense Fund, which advocates on behalf of children, as it implies, and we actually have a Junior League member, the Christy, the chair of advocacy, which has spent a few days out in Ohio, at their big conference, so I'm sure we'll get some insight from her. Achieve Minneapolis, so this again goes back to Right to Thrive. They have several studies posted on their website, many of which are from Wilder Research. The Minnesota Council of Nonprofits, so we're bringing together all the nonprofits. We are a member of that council as well. There's actually a lot of training that exists that they put on. If you ever find a training that you're interested in and there's a fee associated with it, just shoot me a note. We have a budget and a pretty significant budget this year, so we can explore whether or not that's something that the Junior League could pay for you. But they also have information out there, as well as additional contacts within the community that you can reach out to. I think the other really important thing, again, about collective impact is we're not trying to tackle new issues in the community. So somebody's tried to do it before, and they may have been able to do it well, they may have failed in certain aspects, but they have learned from that experience. So we are very naive to think that that we are going to solve all of these problems on our own, right? So about that collective impact. So reach out to those organizations, and if they're doing something similar, the Junior League can't mentor every at-risk child in Minneapolis, so it's going to take more than just our organization to solve it. Minnesota Youth Alliance, AmeriCorps, and Educator. So for this next piece, I'm going to try and demo, if I can. So setting up alerts and feeds. Megan, do you do this? Do you have alerts set up? Or do you just Google it like crazy?
I just generally read the same like 5 or 6 sites.
Yeah.
I know I need.
Megan is an information portal.
I really enjoy reading this, so don't ever compare yourself to me. I just enjoy this stuff.
Oh, I wonder if I have internet connection. I didn't even think about that.
Should.
No. Might be slow in here. So what I want to show you, if it works, is how you can set up. Does anybody else know how to do this? You know how to do this? You know how to do this? You're shaking your head, yes? Okay. So, there's 3. Okay. So, what you can do, one source can be Google. You can actually, I'm going to sign in here. That's interesting. Okay, so now I'm signed in. You have the ability to actually set up feeds, and I know it's cutting off. The bottom here, it says achievement gap. So what I did was create a filter within Google News that is pulling in from a variety of different sources, some more reputable than others, a filter for the achievement gap specifically. So all I did was log in, so you can log into your Gmail, go to the news filter, and then if I can remember how I actually did this. Does anyone want to help guide me? I hit my gear here. So I can personalize it. I can, any news topic, so education. And now I have a filter, and I scroll back over to my left-hand side here, and now I have a filter for education.
Can you make it specific to like Twin Cities?
I do,
Or is it just like
I don't, let's see. Does anybody know?
Yeah, you kind of. It's been a while since I've been in here.
So there's an advanced. So sure, yeah, you can do lots of crazy stuff. In here. So that's one thing that I wanted to show. Is anybody an active Twitter user? So that's another thing. You can follow certain hashtags. I am in the world of social media in the professional workplace, but not outside of work, so I should be better at it than I am.
You can search hashtags, or you can make a list of people that you want to follow.
And there's certain like organizations and
Yeah.
stuff, right? So then the other thing that I did was the New York Times. And I actually have it set to email me on a daily basis.
Do you have to be a subscriber?
Nope.
You don't.
Where's my page of it?
But I am, so if any of you need. I mean, no, but I'm just saying, like, we get it on Sundays, so, like.
You really like the New York Times, don't you?
They have a lot of articles about our approach to the achievement gap and why it matters, so it's a good source.
I think it's my connection. Oh, here we go.
And I work for a consumer research company.
So are you real good at this?
But
Yeah.
if we ever publish anything that is remotely interesting, we'll just send it out to the group.
That's fabulous. It won't take me to the login page, but what you can do is you can create a free account. No, you don't need to be a subscriber, and set up RSS feeds. And I did mine based on education, and so it should email me every day at the end of the day education articles. I'm not an advocate. I'm not as active of a reader of news as Megan is. So this is my way of trying to carry on.
Just have a job.
Try to carry on the torch, even though it's not my skill set.
The
So,
other one that I would say that's good, that has kind of been really cool lately, is the Huffington Post. It's huffingtonpost.com/education and /parents. And for homes, the parenting one, but it's the same thing, you can set up a feed, and they have a lot of guest columnists that are really, really good. So you can set
So
up like
a lot of
STEM,
op-eds
set
as
up-
well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the op-eds are where some of, I mean, take the opinion out, but you might really see some interesting stats or facts that might say, oh, this is something we should consider.
And they will typically, so again, rabbit hole, they may cite particular studies, so then go find that actual study and take a look at that source as well. So one of the things is, that's also interesting is sometimes these topics do bring up political issues and the different sides of, are you Republican, are you Democrat, are you neither? And our take in this room is to try and pull that piece out, and really, again, our research is supposed to be fact-based. It's not about being politically charged. However, I would say that I encourage you to see both sides of that. So if you do read an op-ed that feels like it's skewed one way, go and read all the comments below it, because you'll probably get the other side of the coin as well. Now they're not they may not be a qualified person who's commenting, and they might just be angry. But I do think it is important because our members represent everybody, right? So making sure that we understand those different opinions that are out there. Cool, let's move on. Questions? So it was really just that section was intended to give you a taste, to emphasize the importance of both primary and secondary research. I will, when I send out this deck, also have the links that are in there, so I encourage you to set up some feeds. You may decide that you hate it and you can turn it off, but start getting the information so you can be familiar in this space, and start taking a look at some of those different websites. Again, just become familiar. Are there any questions about this section or anything thus far?